But what we're doing now is James, he's the dog handler. The dog listens to him, not us.
Are you feeling optimistic about the tags? You feeling good about?
Yeah, Storm's percentage is pretty good. If we get another confirmation, it's all a series of events, but she's pretty confident. So when Storm's confident, I'm confident.
So it'd be amazing for it to be Steve because his family's they're just good people.
Casey, the search for Stephen Cloyd continues. Rescue teams have been on the ground working every day to find Stephen, trying to cover as much ground as they can.
We've been out here about 2 weeks, and we've covered about roughly 6 miles. I know 2.8 square miles, but 6 miles total.
Stephen Cloyd was last heard from around 2 in the afternoon, the day Hurricane Helene brought catastrophic flooding to the region.
Anything that we've got, we've tried to put back out to the community. From all of Sierra 5-5, thank you for every bit of support that we've got.
Okay, so I just heard from James. I'm gonna call him on the cell phone right now, and I'm gonna let him share with you the really great news.
We got your detected and sent them out for DNA testing.
They could be legitimate. I've asked them for their SAR certifications. They sent me the Jimmy Irwin article. They refused to send me their certification numbers. And from what I've heard, they refused to provide it to Washington County and TBI. Why? I have no idea. Most SAR teams would have no problem. Most legitimate SAR teams would have no problem providing that information to anybody who asks, especially law enforcement.
If this is scamming, if this isn't real, you guys, I don't know what else I could do.
And as of January 3, 4:12 p.m., James Daugherty was arrested in Greenville. This is in Greene County, so he's in Greene County Sheriff's Office, that jail over there. The charges are fugitive from justice. We have confirmed this is the James Daugherty that is the head of Sierra 55, the group we've been investigating.
And he would always say, no, it's okay, they can just scan that QR code, they'll see all that she's done. Then one day, I was sitting in the back seat, and I was with Storm, and I just looked over at the QR code, and I was like, I wonder. So I took my phone, and I looked it up, and it came up as a page of a whole different dog. And wow. The ID had her picture on it, or a German Shepherd's picture on it. But that QR code had like some different dog.
Went to a different dog's page.
And it was describing a different dog.
Let me put it this way. If James was in front of me right now, I would haul off and duck him for lying to me.
At this point, I had almost everything I needed to conclude this investigation, but I still needed to know why Angela Tayler, with her SAR experience, Butch Mann, with his vast HRD experience, and even local law enforcement either hadn't picked up on the obvious signs that James didn't have the skill sets he claimed he did, or chose to do nothing about it.
This is Ryan. Is this Angela?
It is. I'm sorry, I've got a cold.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah.
Everybody has a cold right now.
Yeah, I know. It's cold out there. What a nightmare, huh? All of this?
Oh, my God, dude. You have no idea. I don't know.
I did hear from someone who was there for a couple of weeks that you were brought in to at least try and help them get their certifications. Cause that's what you do, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a paramedic. And I've been in the EMS and searching for about 30-something years.
Yep.
It's like 1997. And helped teach the FEMA and the NIMS class. Okay, so they have to have, in order to, the new volunteers is what James asked me to do. And he asked me, I think it was December 1st or 2nd or something. He was like, I have new volunteers that are coming in, and we don't want to have any questions because of the Unicoi emergency management people. And he said, do you care to come in and teach them what they need to get pre-qualified to take their NASAR test? And I said, no, because I was under the impression that they were still going to be looking for Steve and Nancy.
Right.
So I was like, no, I don't have a problem. Let me kind of rewind if you have a second.
Sure.
When the storm happened, I got out and started volunteering. I wound up at New Salem Baptist Church, handing out supplies and stuff. And so I started working with Patrick with Boone's Brigade. I got out and looked for Boone down here in Greenville when he went missing. A detective came in from North Carolina, and she stayed at my house. And she was like, so she was having Savage Freedoms, a SART team, come in from North Carolina because they were digging out the culvert over on Charlie Carson, Gary Coy's problem.
Yeah.
So me and the detective and Patrick, we all went over there, and Savage Freedoms didn't show up.
Oh, wow.
So we went to the gas station to get something to drink.
No way. Were you one of the people that Sierra 55 saw at the gas station?
Yep, that was me.
Oh my gosh.
And I saw Storm, the dog.
Okay.
And she had a search and rescue on, and I think it was Laurel, and she had search and rescue on her shirt. And I thought, holy, shit, excuse my language.
Yeah.
I was in tears. And I was like, because after getting out there and looking, I thought 3 people, there's no way we're covering this much ground without a dog.
Right.
I asked them, I said, do y'all do search and rescue? And they said, yes. And I said, do you have a couple hours to come out and just run your dog? Can you just run your dog? So I told them the story. James called Mercy search and rescue while I was standing there and said, do you care if we, run Storm over this area? And the lady was like, no, I don't care. So immediately I thought, hey, these guys are legit because they're calling other search and rescue teams that's already been here.
Right.
And so the detective, called Savage Freedoms, and they said they'd heard of them. And so we're like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. They said, give us 10 minutes and we'll meet you out there. So, yeah, we happily got our drinks, ran back out there and met them. And that's how that happened. And then I went over and showed him where the Mercy had hit and where the Jeep was and kind of gave him a layout of the land. So I just assumed, because police officers came through there and stopped and talked to them, like on not a daily basis, but every now and then. And they would leave and everything was fine. So I was like, okay. I had no reason to question any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
We just looked for Steve, Then all of a sudden it stopped. I don't know. He said that we got kicked off the island or something. He said that they found something on the island and that I wasn't there on that island when this happened. This is Jackson Island.
Okay.
So there was a group of volunteers that came down, and so James asked me if I could take them and search Bailey's Bridge, and I said, yeah, I don't care, because Storm had hit on a couple places. I said, yeah, we'll go search the debris piles. Not a big deal. And he said there was a dog team coming in that day that was going to help him. They were going to get a double confirmation. And I was like, okay, no big deal. Sounds good. He said, this guy wants you to stay away from his dogs. And I was like, okay. So we all went our own separate ways. He calls us and tells us everybody's got to leave now because if you don't have your SAR certifications, which I have mine, but he's like, if you don't have your SAR certifications, they're going to arrest everybody for being on Jackson Island because it was federal land.
Okay.
I've also want to be clear that every time I've been out in a search capacity, it's always been with law enforcement and EMS, and I've never searched federal land we've never had a hurricane up here.
Right.
Everybody retreated. He stayed out. He said a state trooper had stopped and told him they couldn't be there. And I was like, are we going back out? And he's like, no, I'm going back out because I'm certified. Y'all can't go. And I was like, well, I'm certified. And he said, well, you can't go because it's federal. And I said, well, what do you mean it's federal? I'm federally certified with FEMA. And he goes, well, you just can't go. And I was like, okay, fine. You found something, that's great. It took him about a week to tell me that he found something, and then he couldn't tell me if it was human or not. And I'm like, okay, I get that. It takes time. And so I never went back out there because I was under the impression he told us it was roped off. Right. Nobody could go.
And you never got confirmation that find was legit at any point?
No, what I got was a phone call saying that it was verified. The results will be back in 6 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
And he said they found human remains. They were verified human by the lab. And I said, where did you send them? Did you send them to the Johnson County Medical Examiner? Because they have to go to the medical examiner.
Right.
And he said, yeah, that's where we sent them. And I was like, so you sent them to Johnson County? He said, yeah. I said, did you turn them over to Washington County? And he said, no. He said, that's the federal, he said the forestry department did it. That they took it over. And I thought, well, that's reasonable. They had to send it to Johnson County, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was just waiting. I mean, I was happy. I thought, yay. I asked him, I said, do you think it was Steve? And he said, I'm about 99% sure it was Steve. And I said, well, how do you know? And he's like, well, I just think it was him based on the location. And I'm like, okay, great. So, yay, maybe we'll have closure for Kelly in 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to thinking about it. I know that the state crime lab's backed up by a year or two. And so I thought, well, maybe they sent it to a private lab somewhere, but I can't confirm that. That was just things I put in the back of my mind. It was questions.
Angela, I got to ask. It blows my mind that someone who may not have been SAR certified could fool someone who is.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow he knew the right language to use and the right things to say to you.
He did. And he absolutely did. And I'll tell you part of the reason why it worked. And I've kicked myself for this repeatedly since he got arrested. Well, since Kelly posted that about the hats, and I found out he didn't tell the truth about that.
Right.
But I kicked myself for it because I had questions out in the field. Do you know what I mean? When you're out in the field and you watch somebody and it was always, well, I did this in the military. I asked tons of questions. It wasn't just me. I mean, I had friends of mine that came out and helped, and we all asked. I mean,
really?
Yeah, and the thing was, we did this in the military, and he'd tell these stories
mm-hmm.
about Syria and how he had LIDAR helicopters coming in, and I know nothing about LIDAR or sonar or any of that stuff. What I know is foot search, medical care, grid searches. But when you would ask James a question, he would tell you all the stuff about the military. So I thought, this guy has all this experience. He has a dog. I'm not a dog handler. How this came about for me, the whole fallout thing was this. And I'm going to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly posted something online about hats being missing. I was there when the hats were given to him. He asked me to reach out to Kelly to ask her if she had any of Steve's belongings so they could do scent tracking. And I reached out to Kelly, and I said, do you have anything? And she said, well, I have a couple of hats. And I said, okay, let me tell him and see if that's appropriate. And he was like, yeah, that's what we need. So Matt brought them out the next day while we were searching. I took off work to go help find Steve.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to help her so badly.
So someone with experience, you had experience, and she had other law enforcement, obviously, who were working with them. So she got the impression, well, they must be legit. And was willing, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was there when law enforcement talked to James.
Gosh.
And they were like, yeah, I mean, forestry talked to him. He talked to him for 5 minutes, and they're like, we'll stay out of your way. That's exactly what they told him. So I thought, okay, this guy's above the board.
This guy somehow convinced law enforcement and the Forestry Service that he was a legitimate SAR.
Yeah, well, he convinced me. I'm not going to lie to you about that.
That's just wild. Oh, my God.
But, like I told you, I'm not a dog handler.
Right. What's crazy is we've got confirmation that he had a little tag on him, Storm, sort of, the little HRD QR code. Someone actually checked it, and it went to a different dog.
You mean Storm?
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Can't you?
So all that time in the field.
Yeah. All the hits, all the claimed hits. The worst thing is being on video and the family, like the poor Cloyd family watching these videos.
Yeah.
And at the end of one saying, oh, yeah, we got a hit.
I don't know what to say about that, man.
You met with the team, though. You met with the rest of the team. And I get the sense that you're pretty confident that they are not part of it, whatever he was doing.
Oh, 100%. No, I'm going to tell you something. The day the hat thing came about, I called Nolan.
Yeah.
And I said, because James told me the hats were with Nolan in Florida. And so I called Nolan, and I'm like, Nolan, you have the hats. And he's like, no, I told James 3 weeks ago I didn't have them. And I was like, what? Because I was going to go to Florida and get them for her. That's how committed I was to that.
Wow.
He's like, no, I told him. And then I called James, and he gave me this big story about how I think it was Nolan and what's the other guy's name?
There's Chris. There's Dylan.
Oh, Chris definitely had nothing to do with it. Chris was a newer volunteer that came in.
Okay.
Dylan is a newer volunteer that came in. They weren't out there at all for any of the Cloyd searches with me.
Okay.
It was Nolan and John and Laurel and James. That was it. That's how I knew he was lying to me. That's the first time I caught him in a legitimate lie.
Because he said they were with Nolan, and you confirmed they weren't.
Right. And I believe Nolan over James 100%.
It's horrible. It just makes me sick to know that someone could pull the wool over not just the community, but law enforcement. He even pulled the wool over people like you, and I just don't know how in the world he pulled that off.
Because he's a good talker and a damn good liar. He'll look you dead in the eyes and lie to you, man. I'm an introverted person, and I trusted James. I mean, I gave James donations. I gave him money.
Oh, God.
I helped him find places to stay.
Mm-hmm.
I fed him. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I just, I kind of get where Kelly's coming from, because I just...
It must have hit you hard when you found out he was arrested.
It pissed me off.
Yeah.
But before that even happened, I mean, me and James had already had words over the hat, because he lied directly to me. And I looked him dead in the face, and I said, listen to me. And it was just me and him in his office. I said, listen to me. I said, if you're lying to me, if you've got yourself into something and you're in over your head, you need to come clean right now. Because he changed his story on me, you know?
Yeah. What did he say?
Well, first, it was about finding the human remains out there. And he was just like, another SAR team floated down the river and found them. And I was like, bullshit. I said, bullshit. I was out there. There was no other team that I saw. The only team I'd ever seen was us.
So, but you were starting to see red flags.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I was seeing red flags, but I thought, listen, and this is the way I looked at it. They're the only SAR team that's willing to stay here and help us.
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody else has ghosted us.
Yep.
They've done one search, they've left. These guys are willing to stay. They've given up their families, they've given up their jobs, they're giving up their kids. And I felt bad.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I volunteered during Katrina, and it wasn't doing search and rescue. It was just medical.
Yeah.
But I know what it was like to be away from my kids. You know what I'm saying? And so I guess that's part of the reason I was hoodwinked so easy. James told me to my face, he goes, I'm invested now. He said, I met Kelly. I'm invested. I'm going to stay here till he's found. We just need this help. We just need this equipment. We just need this place to stay. So I started connecting everybody with churches and with the communities and with my neighbors, and I would call people for help, and they would drop everything because they knew me and come down and help.
Right.
And so now everybody's calling me, and they're like, how long did you know about this?
Oh, no.
You were the same way I'm talking to you. You were close to him. Why didn't you tell us? I'm like, because I'm an idiot.
Oh, my gosh.
I didn't know. I mean, I went over there. I gave up a week of work to go help teach the NIMS and the SAR and the FEMA classes. And because they were going to go look for Kelly and Steve. They have to have NIMS 100 and 700 and their CERT certification in order to take their NASAR, in order to take their SarTech. It's a prerequisite. You have to have it, which is where I came in to help the new volunteers. James tells me, he said, I think I let my SarTech III expire because, I got it through the military and I didn't know I needed to redo it as a civilian. And I said, well, you better call NASAR and tell them, and they'll just let you recert. Not a big deal. I've done it before. Right. Everything will be fine. Just take the test. It's all good. So we went through that, and I was helping Chris and I think maybe Dylan. Because it's open book. All the answers that are in the book, they tell you right online, this is an open book test. Take your test. So James was like, mine's expired. Do you care to help me with it? So I sat there next to him, and he felt it. And I was like, here's the book. Let's look through it. I know it's been a while.
Yeah.
Sometimes these questions are tricky. And he folds it again. And I was like, brother, Christ. That's what I thought. I said, I know this is hard, but I think he filled it 4 times. And I was like, man, because he told me in the beginning, he was like, I'm a SarTech III. And I thought, what the hell's a SarTech III? And I thought, is that dog handler? Because I'm not.
Is there such a thing?
I can't answer that to you because I only went through SarTech II. When I got into high angle rescue, I was done. And he answered a lot of the questions right. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like a hard fail. It was a missing it by 1 or 2 points.
Okay.
But I did not take the test for him.
Okay.
But I sat there with him for like 6 hours. But I was told by James specifically, we've talked to Washington County. Everything's good. I was told when they did that 100-person volunteer search, which was interesting, that Washington County Sheriff's Department was going to be there. Because I asked him about that. I was like, you cleared it with the Sheriff's Department because somebody will get shot.
Right.
I mean, you've got people on ATVs. You're going to have hundreds of people marching through people's yards. This is the South, brother. I went to the neighbors directly and asked them the day before. Everybody knew we were coming in the next day to search. But I never saw the Sheriff's Department out there at all that day. But to be fair, to be completely transparent, when we got there to volunteer, there were people everywhere, and they were doing their meeting. And James was just like giving this speech about how we're here to find Steve, and Kelly was there, Then he's like, okay, everybody go search. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I actually went up to him and said, wait a minute. I said, are we not grid searching? I said, are we not getting in a line, and going across these tomato fields? What are we doing? And he looks at me and he goes, no, we're freelancing it. He said, I need you to go up where Orion was found and start there. Take a team and go. And I sat there and I looked at him for a minute and I'm like, okay.
He wasn't following protocol, was he?
Well, no, because when you grid search in a line. You have a starting point,
right.
You have a map, and you map it out and you go. And so the end of the day comes, because we're 3 miles up the road where the dog was found. And we actually grid searched back because I was with some other people that knew what they were doing. Well, come to find out, everybody just ran around like freaking jackrabbits.
Oh,
and it didn't. We found, my team found a dead horse. But, I mean, do you know what I'm saying? It was just clustered. I spent weeks. We're talking 12-hour days and to be fair, Nolan was out there with me most of the time.
Yeah.
To be fair, that kid stayed with me from dawn till dusk. I mean, we were out there busting our asses, and we were walking. James would take off and go, the dog's tired after 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to go rest.
I've heard that,
He would be gone, and then it would be left up to me and the kids. I always call them the kids because they're kids. Well, and I'll be honest with you, if my opinion matters anything to you. I cannot speak for Laurel, and I cannot speak for John. But I will tell you that Nolan and Chris and, I met Dylan a handful of times, and he's a new volunteer.
Yeah.
He got thrown under the bus by James with the whole hat thing, and I don't even know how that happened. Because he was out there one time. Like, simply one time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he's like, Nolan and Dylan lost the hats. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And that's what fell out between me and him. That's when our fallout happened, because I knew he was lying.
Okay.
That was just a straight-up damn lie. All I know is they came in, they lied. If they found something on Jackson Island and they sent it off to a private lab somewhere, and I'm talking James when I say they, I want to be clear.
Right.
James and this other dog team that he brought in, and there was someone else that was there with him, and I do not know who they were.
This Butch person, did you ever meet him?
Yes, Butch is the guy. Butch was the guy. I'm glad you said his name. He was the dog dude. He was the guy that was on Jackson Island that day. Then we got ran off. He was the one with James, the other dog team that James called in. I will tell you, though, when questions got raised about James, it was the team that came up behind me and supported me. And that's the reason James is where he is right now. Chris and Nolan.
Okay.
They came up behind me and supported me in my questions because they knew something was up, too.
They were getting red flags, weren't they?
So we're getting red flags, and the reason James is in jail is because the whole team got red flags and discussed it and said, hey, you need to look into him more.
Good. Okay.
So, I mean, that's why I think you can trust these guys.
Yeah.
I don't know about Laurel. I don't know about John. But I do know that these guys came in behind me when I went to them and said, hey, look, dude's lying to me. But my big thing is I want Kelly to know, but I just want her to know what happened.
Yeah.
And it wasn't nefarious from, like, these guys are, like, Nolan's a kid.
Yeah.
To me, he's like my son, you know. He's like the same age as my son, you know. He's been really honest to me. And when he found out there was a problem, he's like, let's resolve this problem. How can we fix this? And he took a beating from James, not physically, but like verbally. And the hats suck.
Yeah.
Let me get that straight. I get it. The human remains suck worse. Because here's the deal. If he found those human remains out there and he's fucking lying to all of us about it, then he could have found Steve. He could have found Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
There remains maybe somewhere in a lab that none of us can freaking find. And now what's going to happen?
Yeah.
He's in jail. He's not going to say anything because he doesn't have a reason to say anything. But he lied to me to my face about what he told me 3 times about these human remains, and he kept changing his story. I went to the other volunteers. I'm like, has he told you all this? Yeah, he told me that he found human remains and none of us were allowed to go back. Corroborated the story he told me. Then we all went in there. He's like, no, there was this other SAR team, and we're all looking at him, like all 3 of us going, no, man, you're lying.
Yeah.
That's not what he told the mayor of Greenville. He found human remains, and it was Steve.
He told the mayor of Greenville that?
Yes, he's got a picture of him and the mayor of Greenville with Storm. That's how deep this shit went. This is how many people he's lied to that believed him. They were going to have him in the Christmas parade in Greenville. Him and this Butch guy go out. They take pictures of them finding whatever they find.
Yeah.
And there's pictures of it. They were on the internet for a while. With a little rock that says Jonesboro, Tennessee. I think I have the picture saved somewhere. Because I thought, God, they found him. You know, this is going to be great. Then all of a sudden, nothing. The Butch guy came down the day that James was arrested, and I was sitting there in the office. And he's like, no, the dog hit. And then James told me that he had to go get an excavator to dig on the island to get the remains, and that would be next week. Like, you know, he's like, I never found anything except for my dogs hit. And he said, my dogs hit with 90% accuracy because they're certified dogs. And he showed everybody their certification. Because, you know, at that point, everybody's like, let's see their damn certification because nobody believes anybody.
Yeah.
You know, just to make it worse, then I get the phone call saying, yeah, it's verified human remains. And I don't know why you would call and say that if you're lying. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why would you make that second phone call unless you're just trying to keep me from being suspicious? And I'm scared for my family. I'm scared for the boys. Because these guys are good people, and I'm afraid as much as James waved a gun in their faces and threatened them and this and that, I'm scared to death for them. And I do know they were supposed to come to my house for Thanksgiving. Like, he didn't have anywhere to go, and I was like, y'all, you know, you and Laurel could come over and eat Thanksgiving because nobody needs to be without Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
You're in the South, you know.
Right.
And he suddenly ditched those plans and went to Texas right around that time. And that was right around the time, that was like right after they was like, oh, we found something.
I don't know. It's so...
Right.
Yeah. Well, if I do hear anything, I will let you know.
Yep. And it's good to finally talk to you.
Yeah, same here.
And if you need any other help or have any other questions, I got nothing to hide, my brother. You know that.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate it. Well, you're local, so I trust you.
Well, I don't know. There's some locals I don't trust.
Yeah. All right. It was nice talking to you. Thank you.
You too.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
After a bit of searching, I located one of the most well-known HRD dog handlers in the Pennsylvania area, probably in the country, where I was told this mysterious Butch guy was from. I discovered he was none other than Butch Mann. He's actually a constable, and frequently called in to search for and train HRD dogs for law enforcement agencies around the country. How on earth did a professional, experienced man like this not pick up on the signs? And what happened when he and James were on Jackson Island? Was there actually a body found?
Hey, good to finally connect with you.
Yes. What can I help you with, and what can I set straight?
So, I've been just interviewing the team themselves, Sierra 55, after the whole thing broke with James. And there's a story I'm hearing from the two different people about you that don't match.
Okay.
The team told me that there was a search of an island.
Jackson Island.
Yep, Jackson Island. James was there. They said you were there with James and I think another team. Not sure.
Yes.
And
there was a member from another team there.
Okay.
But I was called in by Redline Initiatives, who had talked to James. Stormy got hurt, and they needed a good K9 team to come down to relieve Stormy because all this stuff needed to happen, and that's fine. We'll do that. We got it worked out, the logistics and stuff, and I went down. And that was the only thing I did for Sierra 55 at that time, was to do Jackson Island because he wanted double confirmation so he could get permits.
On the Jackson Island search, the Sierra 55 team members told me that James sent them all away because they didn't have SAR certifications, and that he worked with you, remains were found, and he actually said on screen, on a YouTube video, he said remains were found, they've been sent into a lab.
When he was with me, that's what he said, remains were found?
He claimed that. I mean, you were there, you were the one running the dogs.
That's a lie. We found no human remains. The dog indicated on only 2 spots on that island. That's it. There's no human remains found. When I was working one of my canines, no, that is a lie.
That's what I suspected.
I've been doing, just to give you a background, I've been doing this over 30 years.
Yeah, I've heard about you. I've heard everything you do with training the law enforcement and everything.
Yeah, I have no punches to pull. I mean, I'm going to tell you the way it is. I've dealt with this stuff over the years, so I told everybody at the get-go, I do not want any pictures or any filming of anything where my dog's going to indicate or has a lot of interest, because things that I found out too, Ryan, was everybody was taking pictures and videos of my dogs working, and they were using that for self-gratification and fundraising off of my back.
Do you know if they were trying to capture your dogs working to portray them on YouTube as their dogs at any point?
Yes, James already did that.
He did that to you?
On TikTok, yes. And all the videos and pictures have been taken down. He actually, because I gave him hell about that, because I said, you never post a video of a dog indicating, and it was my Venus. I'm in the video, and Wendy's in the video, and whenever I said that my attorney said I'm entitled to at least 40% of any financial gains on that, then everything got wiped. He wiped everything.
Oh my gosh, man.
And here's the thing. I'll give you, okay, since you brought it up about the team. He called himself, or their group, whatever. His name was Sierra 55. Then he changed it to Sierra 55 Response Team. I'm like, well, that's kind of odd, because back home where I'm at, I have a couple search teams, and my main team is Canine Response Search and Rescue Team. And I have trademarked 3 names because I'm building 2 other teams that aren't out yet on Facebook or anything, that I have trademarked Canine Response Team, Canine Search and Rescue Team, and Canine Response Team West, which I'm starting a team on the Ohio-PA line.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is pretty much all I do is canine stuff.
Right.
Anyway, we got to talking, and he's like, man, he says, I want you to help me with getting my dog better and everything else. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I spent the rest of the time working in the Bumpus Cove area, and he was never a part of it, never come back that whole week after that one day, half a day at Jackson Island. And every time I said to him about coming over, hey, I could use an extra set of hands. Well, I have an excavator coming in. I got permits for Jackson Island. Well, now I know it was all a lie after talking with a lot of them.
Did you ever, I mean, you're a, I would say probably one of the most experienced dog handlers. You've seen Storm in action. What was your impression?
Okay. I didn't see her working,
Okay.
but after he got arrested, I was there a few hours after he got arrested. I showed up that night, got there that night, because I'm supposed to teach him a class in Introduction into Canine Search and Rescue so they could wear their canine stuff. But somebody brought up to me some of the HRD training aid I had in the jar for them to practice with. And it was body fat. I don't know if you, but
Okay. They mentioned that there was a peanut butter jar with some fat in it.
Yeah. So I don't know how familiar you are with canines or not. It was sitting on, like, were you at their, let's call it their base?
Just yesterday, yeah.
Okay. Did you go into the base, in through that door? And on the left, there was like a chair or a cardboard box or something, and I had it sitting there.
Okay.
So I was just messing around with Storm, and I'm like, here, Stormy, here. She had no interest in it. None.
Really?
Yes. And if a dog's certified and well-trained, especially if it's certified like he claimed, that dog, I can tell you, every one of my dogs, whether it's any one of my drug dogs or my bomb dog or any cadaver dog, they're gonna catch wind of that. They're gonna go there and put the nose on it. They're either gonna sit or they're gonna lay down, and they're gonna look at you and they're gonna start fussing because they want that reward. She had no interest in it.
Wow.
So I said to those guys and gals that was there, I said, question for y'all. Has anybody ever seen James and Storm find the body? And they're like, nope. I asked Laura, I said, did you? She's like, nope. Okay, that's it. To me, being in this field, like, okay, did he really find the body or did he just show up?
Right. And then they blow it up and make it sound like they found something. Especially that video at the end where he was like, he told Travis on the phone, yep, we found human remains and got sent to a lab.
Well, that was just to garner more views and more financial gain.
Yeah.
Think about it.
The fact that you work with law enforcement, you have, 30 plus years of experience. They all recognized your skills and your connections. And he used the fact that you went there. He would close the door when you guys were talking, and he used you to make the team think that you guys were working tightly together. And that, and that you supported him, and your presence gave him sort of credibility to the team and really to everybody else.
And validity.
Oh yeah.
To validate.
Oh yeah.
No, not the case. That's not the case at all, because I don't associate. Years ago, I tried that. I started setting up a couple fire departments, and when I was associated with them, I don't like people dictating my moves and my training methods and all this. And no, my teams are my teams. That's the one. Yeah. And there was no collaboration, no anything. There was like I said, that third party, I believe it was Redlines, that said, hey, that saw the story about Stormy being hurt, Stormy being down, because let's face it, he wanted everybody's hearts and minds down there. And I said, sure, I would do it, And then he started telling people that it was costing him $2,000 a day. He hired, I don't know if you heard this story, he was telling people he hired me to come down at $2,000 a day.
I didn't hear that. Is that true?
No. It cost me, when I get down, okay, I have to leave my other canines behind, my drug dogs and bomb dogs or whatever. Yeah. And it cost me for a week about $2,000 to board them. I said, I want my expenses paid. I'm not going to pocket any cash. I never have pocketed a dime on this because I just want my expenses paid, because God willing, he gave me this, I'm going to go do it.
Wow.
But I found out that he was using me and my dogs in the videos to make money. Like, here, look, this is what we're doing. Look, there's me in the picture of these dogs, helping Stormy out. But how come I never got to see Stormy work? I mean, was he that embarrassed, or was he like, oh, shit, this guy's legit and all this stuff?
The fact that you're risking your livelihood and your business by interacting with scammers, they're taking advantage of you. You don't know it. Next thing you know, your name is popping up. And that's not good. But for them to muddy up your waters with this BS is really sad.
It's beyond sad. Ryan, it really is, because I'm infuriated.
Yeah.
I've dealt with little spot fires, and I'm like, I'm better than that. You know, move on.
Yeah.
Like, it happens. But when you have these scammers using my dog team and my name, that I have a real problem with.
Yeah.
And especially, you know, I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to gain from this. Nothing at all. My mission has always been to help people. It's not to make money. No. I don't go that way.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, money comes and goes. Dogs in a good reputation, it either stays or gets forgotten about or gets, like you said, muddy or crappy, whatever. No, I want people to realize, no, I'm there to do something.
Yep.
And we do stuff for the local police, state police, and also, you know, the FBI, to be honest with you.
Yep.
So, you know, why would I ruin years of all that stuff just over some little, well, it's not little, but little trips down there to do stuff to where people didn't know anything? And like, back to James, and I'm going to have him in the same part of this conversation, is, you know, these people that have like zero experience in search and rescue, none.
Yeah.
And they're both have been so gifted to talk a story and have people sucked in to believe it.
Including law enforcement.
Yes.
It's crazy.
And James started picking up, like, using my methodologies and my language and communication skills, I guess you could say, about dog stuff. He said, I need you to come down and teach class so that way my guys can wear the canine SAR stuff and we look more professional and we have all these certifications, yada, yada, yada. I said, the only thing I'm going to do is give you at the end, everybody that attends however many hours it takes, or day or 2 days, whatever. At the end, I said, if you can have somebody go to Walmart, get certificate paper, I will sign it that they attended the class.
Okay.
I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, it is what it is.
You were still trying. You were really trying to help them.
Yes, and he said, how much is this going to cost? I said, just cover my expenses. I said, that's it. Because at the time it was like, hey, you know, they're trying to help out here.
So up until he got arrested, you really had no idea how bad this was.
No, I thought everything was 100% legit. I mean, I had little red flags, and then I'd ask him about it. He's like, oh, no, this, you know, people are out to get me, saw the TBI. And I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. And then when this happened.
It must have hit you like a ton of bricks.
It did. But was I surprised? No. Yeah, I mean, but it's like, how could I let myself be so sucked into this?
Yeah.
Was it just the mere fact that he kept bringing up about the people and Stormy and you know, of course, that's a soft spot.
Yeah.
But I never really worked with him or was ever associated with them, I guess you could say, or tied into them in any way. It was like he would message me here and there, and then he told me like, hey, when you coming down? When you coming down? I need you and your dogs. Da, da, da. I'm like, I can't just up and leave. And then he was telling his team a bunch of other stuff that was never even said, and that sort of pissed me off because I started finding that stuff out too, and then found out that he has multiple felony convictions under his belt.
So I think what I'm realizing happened. See, I thought you were the one telling two different stories, but I have a feeling on the island, he made the team think that you were saying things you weren't, and that you had found remains with him. So I'm just glad to know that you were just a legitimate dog handler, trainer, trying to help because you thought they were legit.
Yep, that's what it is. And 3 teams so far have used me, and there's, I guess, a total of 5 of them that's under investigation, which I'm not privy to the information on those or their names or anything, but
I guess from now on, you're probably going to be like, any team you work with, show me your credentials.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, see, James did. He showed me, it falls on my shoulders, my responsibility. He showed me this photo thing with Stormy's ID, said Cert 88 certification and a number. Well, I should have looked that up right away. You know, and it breaks my heart that these people have been scammed.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it is what it is. I'll eventually recover. But, you know, my partner, you know, she's out thousands of dollars, and she's a single mom with 3 kids. So it's like I help her as much as I can. And like, how these people, I started doing some due diligence after that his GoFundMe had raised like $60,000.
Almost, yeah. It's insane.
And nothing was ever put in his name. That's another thing that irritates me. They keep saying we have a fine today. We have a fine. No, you have an indication or an alert to an odor.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a fine until you actually have the skull or the skeleton or somebody's arm, somebody's foot. You get the drill.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that, because I can't tell you how many videos I've seen with these alleged dog handlers saying we found 10 bodies, and they were 10 hits. They were 10 indicators.
Yep.
That's what they do.
So if that was the case, then let's just do it hypothetically here. So if they're counting every indication as a find, I'd be well into 400 bodies right now. Easy. You know what I mean?
So that's good. That's good to know for future reference, especially when I share with people kind of the truth about this. Is you can confirm as an expert in this field that when a dog handler says I've got a hit, it's possible that it's not a body.
Correct.
How does that work? Because you have to reward your dog for a hit. How do you not make the mistake of imprinting them with false hits?
Indications. Okay. All right. So during a disaster, here's what can happen. Okay, whether any change in the water level can dislodge a body.
Yeah.
Whether it goes up, whether it goes down. Okay, because the current's keeping it there. Any disorientation in that current's going to allow that body to either pop up or stay there and move on.
Okay.
So what can happen in disasters like this, when the temperatures are so high and stuff, that body can be lodged there for a couple of days. Then as soon as the water takes down, like a bathtub, it could suck it back up.
So it can help. It can help you at least possibly map the path a body took.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And just because you don't find anything, and see, this is my biggest beef. These people are not trained in this true search and rescue stuff, or they would know that.
Yeah.
They would know to get down and look closely.
Butch, all I got to say is I hope this doesn't disgruntle you so much that you won't come back, because these people need you so bad.
No, it's not. It's not deterring me at all.
Good.
No, because I will be back when I don't know, but I will be back. And no, it's not going to deter me, not at all.
Good. And mostly what I want to get, because the biggest thing that you shared was that no, remains were not found.
Yes, you can quote me on that. You can say it on when you do your vlog or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The dog indicated where there could be possible remains. So these people saying that their dog has a find, it's not a find unless you have an actual body part or some sort of remain.
Yep.
And the Travis, whatever, that also does YouTube, do you know him?
Yeah, he's the one that's been sensationalizing all this.
One time I was there, on my way home, I stopped in. James was like, "Hey, stop in. I have some dog food for your dog. And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Well, I have a picture. The dog food's expired. It is what it is. But they put Travis on speaker, and I was talking to him. I said, "I'll tell you everything and stuff that you don't want, like things I told you, exposing all this other stuff, because I don't believe in it."
Wait, you talked to Travis?
No, I was with James, and he had him on speaker.
Okay.
And he's like, here's the guy, the man, the myth, the legend, the ghost that nobody could ever see. And he's put me on speaker. And I said, I'll tell you everything. Good, bad, the ugly. I said everything.
Oh, no. That's not good.
It's not. But anyway, that was a month and a half ago.
Okay.
So, but since James got off the phone, he goes, "Hey," I said, "What?" He says, "Welcome. Congratulations to just getting $50,000 or $60,000 for somebody mean." And he's like, "Oh, he'll set you up a GoFundMe and all this and all that. You'll have no." And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Butch, again, and thank you for everything you do. It's just amazing what you do for
You're very welcome. And I hope that cleared up a lot of questions and misguided things that you may have had.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right, my friend. You have a wonderful day.
All right, thank you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
At last, we know that James Daugherty had crafted a fiction so thoroughly that he was able to fool countless people who decided to trust him, even when one red flag after another hinted that James wasn't who he said he was. Even some of the most experienced people in law enforcement and search and rescue. Before we end, there is one last voice that needs to be heard, and that is the wife of Steve Cloyd. The woman hardest hit by James' deceptions and lies. The woman who had pinned her hopes on what appeared to be the only SAR team in the country willing to search for her husband. And that hope disappeared entirely the day that James was arrested.